Hello. Hi. Sorry I'm a few minutes late. We've already had gremlins this morning, so one of the cameras stopped working just as I was about to create something that was going to be underneath the rainbow. So we're going to go old school today, and you've got to tell me where the rainbow is. So because I didn't have time, I was running around trying to get the cameras to start working again before I actually got to 12 o'clock. Okay, so hello to everybody who's already joined me. Do let me know if you guys are cooking along today. So Colleen, quick off the bat. Good morning, good morning. Denise says greetings and good morning, Chef Day and fellow foodies. Yes, absolutely. Christine says hello from Hampshire and in brackets UK. Thank you for specifying. Hampshire is a lovely part of the world. Not very far away from where I am actually. I'm in Horsham in Sussex. Anna says hello everyone from Wimbledon. I lived in Richmond for quite a while actually. Well, okay, for a year. Which for me, who's moved around a lot, that was quite a long time. Really, really beautiful part of the world. George says good morning from a slightly chilled Ottawa, Canada. See, I was going to complain that it's cold here, but you can probably beat us on that, George, so I probably shouldn't complain. Colleen says, rainbow on the back of the cabinet. Colleen, I do love you. I do love you, honestly. I also kind of like want to believe that you maintain this whole like rainbow spotting thing in your day-to-day life. So when you're out and about, if you ever see a rainbow, you're like, there's one! There's one! Do I get a point? And who else is here? Oh, Denise says that she was born in Wimbledon. It's such a small world, isn't it? Such a small world. Colleen says you could draw the dinosaur again under the rainbow for the Cavolo because it's known as dinosaur kale. Oh, that would have been a great idea. Well done. Well done. Oh, Karen is here. And Sophie says, bonjour, Sophie. And Colleen says, I just bought a giant IKEA bag that is all rainbow coloured. Oh, wow, fantastic, fantastic. So, as you guys know, Bo will be coming to live with us soon, and she is named after rainbows. So I have bought her a dog fleece, like a jumper that is made of fleece material that is covered in rainbows. So you are definitely going to get to see her in that. She also has a rainbow snuffle mat. She has a like dog bowls and a mat that is kind of like weather themed. So the mat is a cloud, and then the bowls are like a moon and some raindrops and that type of thing. Really, really adorable. Okay, so Justine is here, good, and Eva, or Eva, I'm still not sure how to say your name, is here from Dublin. Thank you for joining us. They're both chef students of mine. Lisa Marie says hello from Handcross. Handcross, where's that? The name is really, really familiar. Is that? I think that's in the UK somewhere, or at least we've got a Handcross. Sophie says watching but not cooking long today. That's fine. Put your feet up, get a cup of tea. Christine says, not cooking long today. I'm waiting for my grocery delivery. Didn't have much of a choice of time. That's okay. It's okay. It's understandable. Elizabeth is here. Says hello, hello. And Karen, sorry, quite rightly says, Colleen the Rainbow Queen. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And who else have we got here? Lynn is here. She says good morning from San Fran. That's definitely somewhere that is on my list to visit. Definitely. George says it's minus 10 degrees Celsius, which is minus 17 degrees Celsius with the wind chill. A bit brisk. Yes, a little bit. A little bit. Oh, Lisa Marie says it's next to Horsham. That would be why it was familiar then. That would be why it was familiar. Yeah, I don't get out and about much, especially these days. Paul is here, our official counter, which is brilliant, and also our official sharer. So he notifies you every show how to share the show, which is super awesome of him. Thank you very much. And Khan is here. And he says cooking long back after ages. Here comes the vegan pumpkin. The pumpkin. I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so what have we got today? We've got Cavolo Nero is also known as kale, so you've got kale puns. Cavolo Nero puns I'm not so sure about. Potato, we've done potatoes, but it's always like nice to revisit the whole potato buns. Oh, Colleen says that she prefers Rainbow Goddess. Oh wow! I don't blame you. I don't blame you. So Eva said that the first pronunciation was good. So I think that's Eva. I'm a bit of a stickler for knowing how to pronounce people's names because my actual full name is Danelise. And when I was a kid, the amount of times that people would say it wrong, and when you're a kid, things like that are so embarrassing. So embarrassing. So I do like to say people's names properly if I can. Paul says my cousin Will Nightingale plays for AFC Wimbledon. Oh my gosh, we've got lots of connections here. Okay, so let's get on with our recipe today. It's going to be a really super easy one today, guys, because this is one of my one pot dishes. I am very, very well known for my one pot dishes because everyone thinks that as a chef that you're just going to be wanting to cook all the time. But when you do it for a job, quite often you get home and you've been cooking all day and you don't really want to cook for yourself. You don't want to be standing in the kitchen for hours on end. So I developed lots of different one pot dishes, but then I also kind of like tried to figure out how, like, what was the blueprint of a one pot dish. And if you go all the way back into the first Cookalong that I did in the first lockdown. So it wasn't the first Cookalong that I've ever done because I've been doing this for like, I don't know, about like 5 or 6 years or something like that. Back in the days of Periscope I started, if you can remember that far back. But with all of these, like, what was it, 160 something we're up to now, Paul? The first one was my one pot dishes. So if you want kind of like more information about like the blueprint of a one pot dish, then go back and check that out. If you want to find videos that I've done before, these live recipes, then the best way to do that is to go to the Vegan Chef School page on your computer. So not on your phone, not on your tablet, but on your computer. And at the top of the page, you will be able to see a little kind of like magnifying glass icon, which is the search icon. And then you can just like put in like whatever you want to search for. In this case, one pot. So put in one pot, spell it out rather than the number, and you should be able to find it. You can also just look at all the videos as well in one go. So you can just go back through that. So, but this is like a super easy one pot dish. Literally like a one pot dish is put all the food chopped up into a pot, add water, simmer. That's it. That is literally it. So that means that when you're tired and you just come home from work or whatever it is you've been doing, and you want to go and have a shower, you want to go and put your feet up, you want to have a cup of tea on the sofa, whatever it is, you can literally chop. You get that? Chop. Pop it in a pan, add water, put the heater on, and then you can butter off. Okay. And I decided that if I found these things really, really useful, you know, in my life, then you guys would as well. So let me just see if there are actually any questions for me, or if it's just potato jokes. Annie is here. She says, hi, Chef Day. Not cooking long, but will enjoy watching with everyone. Annie created the most brilliant gluten-free bread the other day for our course, so super, super proud of her. Please put your feet up, get your cup of tea, and just watch along. Okay. Elizabeth said it was a one pot. I was there. Yes, thank you. Gosh, that seems like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? How the world has changed. Okay, so let me just see if we've got any more questions before we go. Oh, Anna says this is my type of cooking. Good. It's very, very handy. Very, very handy. Karen says, I remember when you used to cook on a Sunday tea time when I discovered aquafaba. Oh, that's a good thing to discover, isn't it? Yes. Okay, so we've got all of our ingredients here. See, after 163 shows, I've actually learned which side it's going to be on. How impressive is that? Okay, so first of all, we're going to start with our floury potatoes. So we're going to use floury potatoes rather than waxy potatoes for this recipe. And the reason why is because I want them to get really quite soft, like so that they almost fall apart in a stew. And I think that's one of the lovely things about a stew is that it's nice and soft. Everything's like, you know, very soft in there. Nothing's like too chewy or anything like that. So floury potatoes are preferred for this recipe, but we're going to peel them. So I'll just put my Cavolo Nero to one side whilst we peel them. And the reason why I'm going to peel them is because, again, I want them to be able to get quite soft on the outside, and also they can, like, some bits of potato can start kind of peeling away, and that can actually help thicken a stew, which is very, very lovely. Very, very lovely. Okay, so let's start by doing that. And just to say, guys, as well, today I'm doing a half recipe. So when you're making this, you will have bigger quantities than I have. If you want to, you could substitute the white potato for sweet potato. That's absolutely fine. Sweet potato takes a bit less time to cook, but the colours would look really, really beautiful with this beautiful emerald green Cavolo Nero. So when I'm making things like roast potatoes and also chips, fries, I actually keep the skins on because I like that different texture. I like that different look as well, and it can help them kind of like stay together. And there's a lot of goodness in the skin. But in this dish, just for the kind of texture of it, I'm gonna take this peel off. Okay, so one thing to bear in mind whenever we're doing a one pot dish is how long do all the ingredients take to cook. So with our green lentils, and you could be using anything, you could be using any type of lentil or bean or yeah, that pea, either, you know, like dried peas, that type of thing. The cooking time of this ingredient isn't going to change. Okay, so it's like with these lentils, I think it's like 25-30 minutes or something like that. If you're using something like a red split lentil, it's going to be much less time. They can cook in about like 15-20 minutes, something like that. With other beans, it might be much longer. So we have to use the cooking time of this as our guide. So this is always something to really, really watch out for when you're making a one pot dish, guys, to read the back of the packet and see. Because, you know, I might say, oh, yeah, green lentils, and mine take, you know, 25 minutes to cook, and you look at your packet and yours actually takes like 50 minutes to cook. And that can happen. That absolutely can happen. So you do need to read that. So mine take about 25 minutes to cook. So it means that I can cut my pieces of potato fairly small, like that size. There we go. And we can just pop them in the pot. So say, for example, I was using a bean or a lentil or a pea that actually took 50 minutes to cook. I would actually make my pieces of potato bigger. So maybe like this big. So twice the size of the bits that I just cut up and put in the pot. And that's because if these were quite small bits, then by the time we get to like 40 minutes or something like that, maybe all of the potato will have just completely dispersed and stuff like that, and we're not going to get any chunks in it. So that's one thing that we do have to bear in mind when we are doing a one pot dish, is that we do have to just like change the size of the vegetables, which is pretty easy to do, and just think about like how long is it going to take for those vegetables to cook, bearing in mind how long the lentils or the peas or the beans take to cook. So say, for example, I was going to put some carrot in here. Carrot takes longer to cook because it's a harder vegetable. So that means that in this dish, I would actually make my carrot about half the size of this piece of potato. So that's something that we can definitely just kind of like affect just by the size that we cut our vegetables, which I think is pretty amazing. Okay, so let me just see if I've missed any questions. Oh yes. Gosh, you guys are chatty today. Okay, right. I think there's lots of talking about potato puns. Justine says, can you put it in a casserole dish at slow cooker? Yes, absolutely, absolutely you can. I've got a slow cooker which is really, really come in handy lately when I've been quite busy. Just chuck everything in there in the morning and let it do its thing. Let me see if we've got any more questions. Paul says, Day, how easy is it to accidentally delete a Facebook Live recording after doing a Facebook Live? It happened to a Facebook Live recording of a friend of mine last night. You do it once, everyone does it once, and then you learn. But I think everyone has to learn the hard way. But yes, it can be actually quite easy to do it. Quite easy to do it, but I've only done it that once. And Khan says, can we use cilantro if we don't have parsley? Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So you can use whatever herbs you want to. It's absolutely fine. Any more questions? Oh, Denise says I prefer red lentils. Goes back to the cauliflower dal recipe. Yeah, red lentils are lovely. Really, really lovely. And also they'll kind of like break apart. So they'll definitely make a one pot dish. Like they'll thicken it as well, which is very, very nice. And oh, Linda says, hi everyone. How many portions does this? So this makes, I would say, about 3 to 4 portions. 3 to 4 portions. So I would just have this as it is on its own. I wouldn't like put it with rice or anything like that, but you can if you want to. And then, you know, you can make it, you know, more of a substantial meal. Okay, so, oh, and Paul says, with regard to the longer version of Day's name, it can be a good idea to name a baby with a short name that cannot be shortened any further. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And oh, Gloria's here. Hello, Gloria. She says, I love Day's full name. It's so pretty. Yeah, I didn't like it when I was a kid, but you know, there you go. Lynn says, question, your lentil cook time, missed it. Okay, so I'm using these lovely lentils from Hobby Dodds. I'm such like an advertiser for Hod Me Dodds. So let me say that properly. Hod Me Dodds, because you might actually want to look it up. So these are Hod Me Dodds green lentils. And I'm just going to bring you guys to the overhead camera. There you go, so I can show it to you properly. So these are, as you can see, these are grown in Hertfordshire. And so because I live in the UK, brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And so these take around like 25 to 30 minutes to cook, something like that. And one of the extra things that I do like about these lentils is that they come in a brown paper bag, which is brilliant, which is really, 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 really good. Because I mean, geez, so much plastic used in food stuff still. So wherever I can eliminate wherever I can eliminate that, the better. Okay, right. And Justine says, what are you cooking next week? What do you think I should cook next week? There you go. Okay, so we've got the potatoes in the pan. And now I'm going to cut our Cavolo Nero. So Cavolo Nero is pretty amazing. I'm going to bring you guys over to a lovely picture of Cavolo Nero, just in case, like, you know, you haven't come across it before. Maybe it's not so common where you guys are. And you can see all the kind of like bubbly like texture of it. And the beautiful colour. Really, really, really handsome, beautiful colour. So Cavolo Nero leaves are great for making kale chips, essentially. So if you guys have a good kale chip recipe, then you can basically just swap out the kale leaves for Cavolo Nero leaves. You need to take the actual leaf away from that central stem. That central stem can be quite hard, but then you can make really, really long, elongated kale chips, basically. And because it's got all that texture to it, it holds on to the paste that you put on the chips very, very well. So it holds on to that flavour. So you can get them to be really like packed with flavour, which is absolutely lovely. Really, really lovely. Okay. Right, coming back over to our overhead camera. So with my Cavolo Nero, I actually froze my Cavolo Nero. It freezes very, very well, but what does happen is it becomes very limp. How limp is that? Very, very limp. And so if my Cavolo Nero hadn't been frozen, then what you can do is you can just grab the leaves here and then you can pull along and this will all come off. I don't know if this is going to happen because the leaves are very, very soft. Oh, yeah, not too bad. Not too shabby. There we go. There we go, yeah. Or you can just like cut them off if you want to. Okay, so Justin says it's Joss's 30th on Monday. So something sweet and belated. That's a good idea. And Paul says sweet food posts are more photogenic than savoury food posts. They get more likes on personal Facebook pages. Yes, they do. They do, absolutely. Well, a few weeks ago, I did make some really, really lovely and very, very easy raspberry, passion fruit and coconut tarts. So we could make those if you fancy it. I mean, it's a bit kind of like ahead of the nice weather. You know, it's quite a summery dish, but, you know, can be preparing us for the nice weather ahead. Colleen has a very good question. She says, can we use the stems for anything? Yeah, I mean, I would just like literally finely chop them. You could put them in here as long as you're going to cook it for long enough, or you can just keep it for a stock. And that's what I would rather do, stock or a soup or that type of thing. Okay, so now we're just going to roughly chop this. There we go. Pop that into the pan. And you don't have to just use Cavolo Nero. So here I've got some spring greens, and spring greens are so cheap. They are so, so cheap. So in the UK, I don't know what it's like elsewhere, but in the UK, we can get like a massive bag, like absolutely rammed full of spring greens for like 70p or something like that. And of course, like getting these dark leafy greens into our diet is very, very good for us. Especially, you know, during the winter time if we're fighting off infections or anything like that. So I'm just going to pop this in there as well. So just again, like roughly chopping them. And these, when they're cooked for a long time, they're absolutely delicious. So, so lovely. Like really like silky smooth. So they can pop in there. Okay, so we've got a few more questions. Denise says, I haven't seen Cavolo Nero. Could I substitute with spinach? That's a very, very, very good question. So you can use other leafy greens, but I would suggest using the tougher leafy greens. So you could use what we call true spinach, which is older spinach. Isn't easy to get hold of in the UK. I don't know why. Baby spinach is everywhere, like absolutely everywhere. You can get it in all shops. But baby spinach in a dish like this would just kind of like it would disintegrate very, very easily. You know, become very, very small. And you want something that's a bit kind of like tougher. So chard would be great. Name some other things, you know, some other leaves that you're thinking of to me. But you know, pretty much all of them would be great, apart from those like really young baby leaves. Let me just see if have I missed anything. Paul says, P.S. Of course, savoury food posts are healthier and more nutritious than sweet posts. Paul, you are absolutely right. You are absolutely right. The photos that I share of like brownies and stuff like that get a lot of likes, a lot of likes. And Colleen says, now I'd have to figure out what spring greens are called in the US. Oh, and Lisa Marie suggests collards. I think you might be right. I think you might be right. Good thinking. And Denise says, I can use chard. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So if any of you guys cook with chard, I do need to ask you, have you noticed that it smells of freshly mown lawn? Because to me, it just absolutely smells of freshly mown lawn. It's beautiful, really, really beautiful. Okay, so let's go back to our pot. Yay, there we go. Okay, so we've just got our potato in here and our Cavolo Nero or spring greens or whatever it is. And then you can put some fresh parsley leaves in there. I said that because it's a really, really easy thing to put in. Whereas the thyme leaves that I'm currently plucking take longer. I always think it's one of those funny things about time is that it takes a lot of time to actually like pluck it properly. Because with this time that I have here, the actual stem of it is very kind of like twiggy, and so we don't want that in our pot. But I can just pluck these off. But if you use something like parsley, it takes a fraction of the time because you can just snip it. And sometimes I just snip it with some scissors rather than a knife, which is super easy. Just roughly chop it up and pop it straight in the pot. And that's like way easier than doing this. So you could use other herbs as well. Something like rosemary or sage would be lovely. But honestly, like parsley is like the quickest one. And the whole point of this dish is really, that it's as quick as possible. I mean, I'm making it seem a lot longer because I'm talking a lot. Let me just see if I've missed any questions while I've been talking. Denise says, yeah, collards are very popular in Georgia. Oh, good. Good. Yeah, any kind of tough leafy greens would be great in this type of dish. Okay. There we go. That's enough time. In there. Okay, so our thyme is in here, and then we've got our green lentils, or you can swap this out for red lentils if you want to, or split peas would be lovely. That would be really, really lovely. Anything like that would go really, really well. But one of the other ideas of, just realised that there's a bit of stem in there. Sorry. One of the other ideas of adding something like this is it's not just about the taste or anything like that, or the texture, but it's also about the fact that this is going to keep you fuller for longer. Okay, because if we just had like a pot of veggie stew, essentially, you're going to get hungry quite quickly after eating it. So this will keep you fuller for longer. So we can just pop those in. Okay, and then we've got our 1 litre of water. So you can just be straight from the tap. And then we have, I'm going to use a mushroom stock cube, just to kind of give it a bit of extra flavour. But you guys can use whatever stock you usually use. If it's powdered stock, then use, I would say, 2 to 3 teaspoons of it. Okay, and then we have our sea salt. So we've got some lovely Malden sea salt here. Add some of that. You can add whatever salt you want to. I just thought that was like quite a nice addition to this dish. And then we've got our sweet smoked paprika. So this is going to give, a lovely extra flavour to our dish. There we go. Okay, so that's our paprika. But you guys, if you don't like paprika, you can swap it out for something else if you want to. Okay, and then we have our onion powder. This is a really, really useful ingredient if you guys want to make cheese and onion kale chips, which I recommend heartily, or cheese and onion Cavolo Nero chips. Really, really good. And it's a great thing to have in the cupboard. Really, really good cheat. So rather than having to use an onion, we can just use 1 teaspoon of this. This is great in cheese recipes as well. Be a good addition to cheese recipes. But if you don't have this, you can just use 1 onion, but finely slice it. And you do need to very much finely slice it, okay? Otherwise it will taste raw. And last but not least, we've got our garlic. So we've got a selection of different garlics here. So I've got garlic powder. Oh, let me hold this up, otherwise you're not going to be able to see it. I've got garlic powder, garlic granules, and then here we've got smoked garlic granules, which sound absolutely divine. So, this is a make that is available in quite a few supermarkets now. I do like the fact that it's got the name on the top, because then in my cupboard I can see easily what everything is. But I'm just going to use regular garlic granules today. I'll just pop all this in and then I'll read your questions, because I can see there's quite a few going on, but I'm not able to have a look at them now. So just pop the lid on, put this on at about like a medium setting, and then we let it bubble away. So we let it bubble away. I would say like get it up to like simmering, and then take the lid off. So the reason why I do that is because it means that it gets to simmering quicker, so we are saving energy as well. But I want to take the lid off because I want it to kind of thicken. So with something that is like this, a stew, if we leave the lid on, then a lot of that liquid that's in there will kind of like stay as it is. But if you want it to thicken, then we take the lid off so that the water can go into the air and it can escape, basically. And I do want this to be thicker. But if you guys want it to be more liquidy, then you can just leave the lid on. So this will take about half an hour, something like that. And you can, you know, kind of like keep an eye on it every now and again if you're worried or anything like that. But after you've done it a few times, you get to know if you can just kind of like put it on like a lower heat and then nip off for like half an hour, come back, see how it's doing, you know, maybe put the heat up a bit if you want to. So it just kind of like give you that flexibility so you don't have to be, you know, in the kitchen every 5 minutes. Okay, guys, so let me just see if we've got any more questions. Okay, so Amandine, love your name, absolutely love your name. That's why we used to say when there was spinach in the school canteen, it's because the lawns have been mowed. Oh! And Justine is getting very excited at the thought of Sage going into the stew. That would be a very lovely addition. And Denise says Sage, rosemary, and thyme. Yes, absolutely. Denise says, can I use miso? Yes, yes. So this is like a recipe that you guys can really, really, really play around with. So I would suggest that because of the flavours that are going on in this recipe, like a dark miso would be lovely, really, really lovely. For those of you who are in the UK, like a yeast spread, like Marmite, Vegemite, something like that, a bit of that would go really, really well in here. Amandine says, those callow mushroom stocks are so yummy. Yes, they're really, really good. Really liking them. Okay, and Annie says, I love you talking to us. I don't get to talk to many people in the week, so I really enjoy Saturdays at midday. Me too, me too. That's why I keep tripping over my words, because I'm like, you know, I talk to Jeff, and I talk to the cats, of course, but I don't necessarily like talk at length in, you know, such a short amount of time. So when I'm speaking to you guys, I'm like, I'm so excited. I just like want to get all the words out immediately rather than putting them in the order of a sentence. Okay, so oh, Karen says, have you tried the sage gravy in the Vegan Chef School cookbook? Oh my god, it's amazing. That's if you like gravy, of course. I'm a northern lass, so I have gravy on everything. Yeah, I love gravy too. Absolutely love gravy. I think there are 3 in the book. Did I put 3 in the book? I think I did, because, you know, you can't ever have too many gravy recipes, right? Oh, and Sophie says, fellow northern lass, chips and gravy was a staple school lunch. Yeah, definitely. Denise says, thinking I could fry the onions and garlic first, then add them to the pot. So Denise, actually, one of the things that I have been able to do with one pot dishes is figure out how to skip that step when we have to fry things, because literally, like, my task to myself was to figure out how do we literally just like chuck a load of stuff in a pot, add water, simmer, and that's it. Because I feel like my role as somebody who's trying to get people to cook from scratch is to make it as easy as possible, almost as easy as taking something from the fridge and putting it in the oven. So as long as you really finely slice your onions and this cooks for long enough, you will take away the raw flavour. Yeah, but they do need to be very finely sliced. So if you've got a mandolin, then that really, really helps. And with the garlic clove, again, you know, if you use like a small amount, and definitely finely grate it. So I actually use my microplane. I use my microplane to really, really finely grate it. Then the raw flavour gets cooked out during the cooking process. So with this pot, you know, if it was something that took like 15 minutes to cook, then those raw flavours wouldn't go away. It would still taste quite raw. But if we're talking about something that's going to bubble away for at least half an hour, those raw flavours should go away. And I would say, you know, like try it out, because if you manage to do that, then it makes life so much easier, so much easier. Let me just see if we've got any more questions. Karen is saying, oh my god, chips and gravy. So I don't know if you guys have ever heard of poutine. So I'm sure George will stick his hand up, because it is like a food of the Canadians. So it's chips and gravy, but with like cheese curds in it. And there are a few recipes online making it vegan. And I would like to make it vegan one day, because I'm very, very intrigued by it. Very, very intrigued. Justine says, oh, that's a good idea. I haven't actually made anything from that book. What? And I'm off next week, but I'm sure Chef Dave will want me to do the chef course. No, do the book. Do something for the book. Go on. I'd love to see. But you need to share photos, okay? That's an order. You need to share photos. Paul says, I think vegan gravy is important. Yes, definitely. Oh, and Denise says, okay, agreed, Chef Dave. Yeah, just try it out. Try it out. Like, a lot of these things, I had to kind of force myself to try out, because, you know, we get into this like habit and way of doing things, and then, you know, I think like with cooking, I try to like remove as many of those like awkward steps. So anything that's going to be like a barrier to somebody saying, well, you know, it takes too long to cook. It's too expensive to be vegan. You know, anything like that, I try to remove them. So anything that I kind of like just accepted as, oh, that's the way that we cook, so therefore I've got to do it like that, I really just tried to chuck that out the window. And so I just experimented, and I was like, okay, let's just try in the first instance to do this in the laziest way possible. And, you know, I was quite surprised. I was really, really quite surprised by the amount of things that we take for granted in food, in cooking, that we don't actually have to do, which is pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Right. Now, here is one I made earlier. And I'm going to come to the overhead camera so you can see how beautiful this is. Oh, look at those colours! The Cavolo Nero is really, really lovely emerald green. Really delicious. And these these green lentils that I'm using are olive green lentils, so they're a bit lighter than some, but the colours look great together. Really, really great. And you can see that some of that potato has started to break up. There we go. And I did make sure that, you know, some of the juice did evaporate, but there was still enough there. There was still enough there. So you guys can also add, you know, things like pepper, black pepper or white pepper. To this if you want to. You can swap out the paprika for something else. You know, if you don't like paprika, that's fine. You can use whatever herbs you want, whatever spices you want. You can really just totally make it your own. You can add other veg to this, or just completely replace the potato that's in there. So as I mentioned before, you know, carrots, sweet potato, any kind of root vegetable would be lovely in this. So something you can kind of sink your teeth into that would be very, very nice. So, you know, like celeriac, parsnip, you know, anything like that would be very, very nice. Very, very nice. And of course, I mean, I don't know what it's like in other countries, but in the UK, root vegetables are fairly cheap. They're really fairly cheap. Okay, right, definitely time for a taste test. Before I stuff my mouth, I'm going to see if we've got any more questions. Okay, so Paul says they do a good poutine at a local vegan restaurant here in Galway City. Wow, that's amazing. Have you had it? What's it like? And Sophie says, oh my god, how did the British get a bad food rap when other countries have a national dish like chips and gravy? I mean, okay, right, I must say about Canada, I know it's called Canada, I just called it Canada for fun because it sounds cute. I'm sure that they have like other dishes. It's just that that was the one that when my friend told me about it, it's emblazoned in my mind because it just sounded a bit bonkers. Oh, Sharon, hello. Would it be nice blended into a soup? Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So that's the thing, like with any type of stew, you know, if you want to blend it, then you absolutely can. If you want it to be kind of creamier, then what you could do is you could blend half of it and then put it back in. You know, so you've got that mixture of creaminess and, you know, a few more textures going on there. But if you want to completely blend it, then you absolutely can. Do be careful though, if you've got like a jug blender, don't put the hot soup into a jug blender because that's one way that you will crack it. Okay, so I'm definitely going to dive in to this. I want to get a bit of potato. The thing that I love about dishes like this is that it's hearty and warming, but it also tastes like I'm actually getting healthier whilst I eat it. Like, it's amazing. It's amazing. I love that about these dishes, and especially at the moment, you know, we've had a few cold snaps here in the UK, so having something like this will warm you up from the inside out. And this is the type of dish, guys, that you can make ahead of time, that you can batch cook as well. So making up, you know, quite a big amount of it, and then put it into Tupperware. But rather than putting it into one big Tupperware, put it into lots of little Tupperwares in the portion size that you would usually have it, and you can just grab it out of the freezer in the morning. And by the time it comes to the evening, you can literally just, you know, pop it in a pan, and you've got a really easy dinner there. Okay, so Justine says, can't wait to get a vegan fish and chips at the beach. Yes, definitely, definitely. I do miss the sea, actually. Really, really looking forward to going to see the sea. Denise says, vegan food is soul food. Feeds the soul. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. It helps all those other ones out there as well. Okay, guys, so thank you very much. Oh, George popped up. George says, he says, hard to make a great poutine without great cheese curds, and I haven't been able to find vegan cheese curds in Ottawa. So I have seen online that there are quite a few vegan recipes for poutine, but as I've never actually had it, if I made it, I wouldn't know if it was good. I don't know. So, George, I think it's over to you. I think you're going to have to develop a recipe for us because you know what it's meant to taste like, and then you can share it with the group. Okay, guys. So I think that, do you want to do raspberry coconut passion fruit tart next week? Oh, and George says poutine, not pouting. Yes, I got that. Yeah, predictive text. What are you going to do? So raspberry tart next week. Everyone fancy a raspberry tart? And Colleen says we all need a trip to Canada. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I'd love to go to Canada. It's meant to be so beautiful, so beautiful. Lisa Marie says yes. I think that means yes to the tart. Elizabeth says thank you, Chef Dave. What a fab recipe. Grateful as always. I am grateful to you guys as well for joining me. Justine says yay. I think we're going to make raspberry tart next week. Yeah. Okay. I could, with the passion fruit on it as well. It tastes like summer. So let's bring some of the summer into our lives. Paul says, Day, when you were growing up in Coventry, the beach was a good distance away. Yeah, it was right in the middle. Whereas here, you know, it's not too far away. So looking forward to being able to hear the sound of the sea. Elizabeth says, yes, it sounds delicious. So that's good, good, good. Oh, sorry, Colleen, you did mention earlier about blondie recipes. Now, I did one a very, very, very long time ago, made with beans. So let me dig it out for you, and I'll have to retest it and see if it's actually any good. You know, tough, huh? George says, love raspberries. Thank you, Chef Day. Thank you. Karen says, yes, raspberry tarts, good, good, good. Annie says, I'm making this later as I need to buy Cavolo Nero or spring greens. Good, good, good. Yeah, I think you'll really like this, Annie. Sophie says, thanks, Chef Day. Thank you, everybody, for joining me. Really, really, really fun show. I'm really glad that you all like the recipe, and I just hope that it makes your life a bit easier, because, you know, that would be good. And also, Bonus, less washing up. Thank you so much, guys, and as always, have a good day.